Hey, I want to invite you guys, if you've been listening to this podcast and enjoying this content and are passionate about protection, you should know that we have an entire library of all of the protector symposiums that we've ever done, hosted at protectornation.com. You can go there and you can download those and you can watch every protector symposium we've had to date there online, and you can learn protection tactics from some of the most elite trainers in the world from the comfort of your own home. I think you'll be surprised about how much content we actually have there. It's very, very, very reasonably priced, and you can upgrade your protection skills. Remember, protection is not all about the hard skills. 90% of it is all about the software, the programming, the way you see and move in the world to achieve a safer pattern of life. With that having been said, go to protectornation.com, join us there, learn from the best of the best. Now, enjoy the show. Boom, hello, and welcome to the Protector Nation podcast, a podcast that is dedicated to making the world a better place, making the world a safer place by making good people dangerous. In this podcast, we're going to study and understand what it takes to protect your family, to protect your loved ones, because we all know that you have a few basic needs: food, water, and shelter, but you also have the need to protect those things. In a world and society where evil runs rampant and is sometimes left unchecked, learning how to protect yourselves and your loved ones is becoming more and more important. And so we strive to raise the level of accountability to those who would do evil on this planet by making sure that the sheep, that the flock, is more well-versed in protecting themselves and their loved ones. If that sounds interesting to you, then sit back and enjoy the show. Out. Boom! What's going on, you guys? Byron Rodgers here for another episode, man, here at the Protector Podcast. I might put this on EPL as well, but I've got a special guest here, an accomplished warrior, the infamous soul assassin, Kevin Ross. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, 100%, dude. It's an honor. It's an absolute honor. Just for some of y'all that don't know a little bit about his background, man, he is world-class Muay Thai fighter, man. He's got some titles here. Let's see here. Bellator featherweight champion, WBC international champion. I know you hate hearing this, Kevin, but just let me do it. USA national champion, FIDAM welterweight champion of Mexico and the United States Muay Thai Federation welterweight champion, man. You're a champion, bro. It means a lot.
Yeah, I did some stuff.
You've been around the block, man. No, we got to do that so people know who and why they're listening, man. It's really important. With all those championships and all that fighting, my first question is always, who's the man behind the work, bro? Who are you at your core? Like, what drives you? What's this whole thing all about?
A lot of things, well, for some of my backstory, I grew up in Vegas, lived that partying lifestyle, was an alcoholic, just depressed kid, broken home, with that whole story, and really just became a very victim-minded person. I didn't have a choice. It's just the way that life is. You take what life's going to give you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And, I never thought I was going to live very long. I actually didn't think I was going to live to see the year 2000. And, almost got in a fatal car accident going into 2000. That was a really big wake up call to me, that all these excuses that I was giving myself about why I couldn't make it, why I couldn't accomplish anything, were just all fear based. They don't really mean anything. You're just telling yourself, I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z. But what it boils down to is fear. And that just hit me in the face one day, and I couldn't ignore it any longer. So that's who I was, like, half my life. And then the second half of my life was been doing everything, trying to go in the other direction, taking advantage of the time that I do have. I view every day as extra credit. Like, I'm not supposed to be here. So all those fears and doubts that I let control me before, it doesn't necessarily mean they go away. It just means you accept the fact that they're there, and you still have a choice to make, regardless of any fear or anything else. And once I started kind of simplifying that in my mind, it is a choice. There's no debate. You're either going to do it or you're not. And that really took a lot of that fear away from me. Like I feel like I don't have a lot of the fear that people do, but it's really just an understanding of it and an acceptance of it. Not to say that I don't care. Like the only way not to have fear is not to care about what you're doing, but not to give a shit. But it is, if you care about what you're doing, you're going to have some fear about it because you want something to happen. You want to be successful. You want to do well, whatever it is. So fear is a really great thing. Just not letting it control you is the key.
My dude, you're dropping so much. Yo, all right, we coming out the gate hot, man. There's so much wisdom in what you just said, man. The mentality and you know, like people will tune in because they're like, oh, we can listen to a champion fighter. This is really cool. Like, you know, like what's the cleanest uppercut and like, you know, my overhand and all that. Yeah, cool, man. The differentiator in people is their mindset. That's what drives everything. And when I hear you talk about the victim mentality, I love that you have a nice, dirty background, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what most people are dealing with. They're sitting there looking at their situation and coming up with excuses, you know, and it is literally the most corrosive and dangerous thing that someone can do with the sovereignty they have over their life. And you're like, yo, I was in that and I got out of it. Because guess what? Every single one of these people listening can actually get out of it. I love that stuff, man. And what we and we definitely have it in common, you know, because I'm on borrowed time too, man. You heard me talk, man. I should have been dead, you know. So every single day is a motherfucking miracle, you know, literally and figuratively, you know. And then as we lean into this trash, man, it's just it's the fear. Even, you know, I talk about the alchemy of the mind and transmuting everything and making it serve you, dude. I hold fear close, man. I'm right there. Like I let that anxiety of like, hey, bro. You know, like if you don't get this done, like what if you just don't achieve? Like what if there's all these people that you don't touch? And like what if you're just some cool dude and you just die and you were like hot on social media for 10 freaking seconds, like big freaking deal, man. You know what I mean? Like that's what I allow that fear to drive me. So you drop so much heat in that out the gate, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I definitely do the same. It's that I never want to look back and think about what I could have done if only I would have went forward or you know, if I only would have faced those things and always remembering no matter how far away from that I get, no matter how far away from that person I was before, like you're never any farther away from it. It's hanging on your back the entire time. So I think a lot of times we can get a little lazy when it comes to that because we think we've accomplished a lot or done so much, or that was so long ago, where that's when it's at its most dangerous, is when you don't realize you're always in that fire, you know. And that's what keeps me accountable to myself, is I know I could destroy everything that I've accomplished in the last 20 plus years in one day, one bad moment, if I let those things start developing again, those unhealthy patterns.
Yeah, man. It's, you know, I was going to get into this later, but like, I agree with you 100%. Life is a war, man. Every single moment of time that passes, like everything's moving all the time, man. There's a fat, arrogant, stupid, like version of me chasing me. And I have to constantly like stave him off and put as much daylight between me and him as possible, you know, by like you said, continuing to push forward, sharpening that edge, and whatever it looks like for you or what it looks like for you guys listening is it's a whole different game, but it's got to be done, man. And you have these accomplishments, you know, in front of the world, which is super dope. But what is the hardest thing you've ever achieved in your life? What was the biggest struggle you would say that you've ever fought from?
It's really that daily, the fighting the man in the mirror, that person that I was, and how easy it is to fall into that weakness, that victim mindedness. I mean, it's every day, every moment, everything that you do is this constant decision. You're going left, you're going right, you're getting stronger, you're getting weaker. So it's that unending battle that's the biggest challenge. I mean, everything else is circumstances and difficulties and things like that, but at its core, they're all that same thing. It's that battle with yourself.
Yeah, 100%. Because that battle never ends and it's persistent. You know, it's just, It's always there, and it's smart. I was talking about this morning on social media. There's the other version of me. He's smart. He's fast. He knows my weaknesses, and he's there, and he's fighting for me to keep in comfort. He's trying to tell me, dude, you've done a lot. Like, chill out. Loved ones are like, Byron, you're working so hard. Relax. Like, come chill. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to sleep,
I always think I had dealt with that a lot too. After I retired, it's like, oh, you've done it all. Like, why am I out here like running right now? Why am I out here lifting weights? Like, I don't have a fight to get ready for. I'm like, yeah, well, your life is the biggest fight that there is. So you better always be ready for that, because it's so easy to slip back down that path, taking a little exceptions here and there. Mm-hmm. And inevitably you become weaker. And it's the same thing to get stronger. It's those little steps every day, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And then, you develop strength over time, just like you develop weakness over time.
Yep. 100%, 100%. And just as long as it took you to become weak and pathetic, it might take you have to be ready for it to take just as long to become powerful. But I also find that on that journey, you start having better self-esteem. Like day one, when you superimpose your will on your life and your day, it's like you start to kind of look in the mirror and be like, I ain't there yet, but I wasn't a coward today, and I think that counts for a freaking whole lot. People think it's all about the destination. Like, oh, I'm going to get to this mountaintop. It's like, nah, bro, on the way there, you're going to have so much development. Like the mountaintop is like a hot chick across the bar. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to go talk to her, but like you become this person on this journey, man.
Yeah. That's such a good thing to keep in mind is that the journey itself is what is the process, and really what you look back on. It's like the accomplishment, certainly they should drive you and direct where you want to go, but it's that day in, day out, those battles that you're doing every day. When I used to train, when I was first starting, like the first 10 years, I used to just dread the training. I just want this to be over with so I can get into the fun stuff. I want to get in the ring. Yeah. And then that's like 5 seconds compared to the 99% of everything else you do. And then I look back, I'm like, I'm rushing through my life. I'm rushing through these difficult moments. And I from that point forward, I shifted my mentality. I'm like, I'm grateful for these struggles because it's getting me to this point. So it doesn't mean you have to like it, but appreciate it for what it is. Like, these struggles are what gets me strong. These struggles are what's getting me to this unbreakable point so I can perform at the highest level.
Yeah. No, the struggle is that's all the goodness, man, because what you get from that, no one can take away. And that's what builds you into the champion, man. I love it, dude. This is good stuff, man. What would you say? What principles or values have you seen translate directly from combat or fighting into your everyday life that you think people should consider?
Never giving up.
Yeah.
That's always good. Like, no matter how difficult it may be, how impossible it may seem, staying in the moment and just pushing yourself in that moment. Sometimes we look at that end goal and it seems impossible, and it just breaks us because it's impossible. It's too far away. There's too much to do. But can you keep going for this 1 second right now?
Yeah.
And the next one and the next one. You just keep adding those up. And as I said before, is that end goal should motivate us. Like, yeah, I want to win this fight, or I want to accomplish whatever that goal may be. But what do I have to do right now? And I just keep pushing forward, refuse to give up, not think about the end, just this moment. And that can really help us push through those times when it just seems impossible.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's kind of back on that journey, man. That's the stuff, like, put your left foot in front of your right foot. I remember, in the Marine Corps and like combat and boot camp and certain training ops, and it's just like, just get to breakfast, man.
Yeah.
Just get to lunch, dude. Just fight your way to dinner, and then that was how we got through. It's like, and when things really get bogged down, it's that mentality. It's like, well, I can get to breakfast. Like, I can still put another foot in front. And it's just mind blowing how powerful that principle is,
Oh yeah.
I think outside looking in, people think it's about these like huge accomplishments, and it's really about the free, like you said in the beginning, managing that day, fighting through that. How do you deal with something I've been struggling with as I've been growing is like I guard my time like a lion, dude. Like I have to, I got, right now I got like, let's see here, 209. I got 192 text messages, right? But purpose adds boundaries. And I'm a zeroed out text message guy, but for the life of me, just with all the businesses and details running and protection details running and things going, and content management. At any rate, what would you say about time management? Do you have any tips there or overarching principles concerning that? Because I freaking
that's always a tough one, especially when you are that kind of person that just has so many balls up in the air. You're doing so many things, but sometimes we get so fixated on what we're doing, realizing that we're not actually going anywhere because we're just juggling so many things. For myself, it's just getting back to that core foundation of, what's behind all this, like my health, my mental health, my physical health, and then, trying to dictate the levels of importance. It's like, I want to accomplish this entire list all day long, of course, but prioritizing what's the most important for the day. It's like, I want to accomplish 10 things, but what do I have to accomplish? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then going from there.
Yeah, no, it's the prioritize and execute, control what you can control, and then purpose adds gravity and balance. So I'm not doing it wrong. I'm just doing a lot of stuff.
And as you said, it is difficult to find that balance. And I think what we forget about balance is it's something that's always in flux. There's no state of balance. And when you think about someone on a balance beam, they're not stationary. They're constantly moving, adjusting left and right, forward and back. So balance itself is movement.
Mm-hmm. No, balance is movement. And you're always just like, you're hitting that apex, boom, you got it for 10 minutes. And then you're fighting back and you're like, you kind of got it.
Yeah. It's like constantly jumping over that line of too much and too little.
Yeah,
you
man.
Go too far because you burn out, but you don't want to not do enough because then you're not accomplishing it.
Yeah. And then lean too much into the work and forget to live your life, and that's been the balance is like, okay, I need to be present with everything I'm doing. What things are going to give me the professional gains I need to make an impact in the world? And what relationships, do I need to make sure I'm having an impact in, and how much time and all that as the game man. Fortunately, I had a father that was a workaholic that never really spent much time with me. So I have a good example of like, he conquers the world while I'm a young man, but I'm like, this is what it might take to win. 2, I don't want to lose, these key relationships in the process, because if I was a lesser man, I'd be like, I'm mad at you, dad. But like, really, I'm just like, yo, bro, I completely get it, man. You're trying to freaking win. And, you have your values placed the way you do. And guess what? The best and the worst thing about all parents is they're doing the best they can from their level of intelligence and life experience and all that stuff, man. So, God bless you. Now we have a good relationship. We have fun, but when we see each other like once every 3 years, but I hold no ill will, man. I love the guy.
One of my talking about being present in those moments. One of my buddies that I trained and fought with, his name's Eddie Abasolo. He had 3 kids and a family and that whole deal. And
yeah, man.
He talked about how he was like splitting his time. He's like, when he's at the gym, he's feeling bad that he's not with his family. And then when he's with his family, he's feeling bad that he's not at the gym.
Yeah.
And what he came to realize was you need to be 100% present in that moment. Like give all yourself to that moment or else you're sacrificing both.
Yep.
And that quality of time, not amount of time is really what's the most important. So you could spend all day long with your kids and not give them anything, but you can spend an hour being completely focused and present and give them the world.
Yeah. No, that's money. That's what I do, like 5 to 7, I call it my golden hour. It's really 2 hours. And I just try to be like with my family, like, I'm here. we're doing what we doing. We're doing teacup time and stuff, and if nothing's like exploding, then I'm just like trying not to look at it, man. Nah, man, that's good stuff. I was watching an interview you did, I think for like Monster or something before this, and you said some things that I think speak to kind of the mentality of the world now when it comes to, like nowadays someone will meet you and be like, how many fights? Not nowadays, but like you'll say that you said there's a conversation that takes place more in like the US or in some of the more modern fighting circles, which is like, yo, how many wins you got? How many losses you got? And you were saying kind of the way you were raised, it's like, yo, it's more about how many fights you have. And what would you say about that? Why is that?
Well, because a lot of that, so many of those, it's like titles and these accolades are such external things that are a lot of times are extremely biased. Like they don't actually mean anything. And it's that internal, that experience, like the battles you've gone through, not necessarily the outcomes. And far too often we're outcome based, where that doesn't necessarily equate to success in the long run. Just because you win something doesn't mean that you're winning, particularly if you're sacrificing everything that's important in your life to get that. So, for myself, it was always just about being able to look back on a fight and be proud of what I did in there, not necessarily did I win or lose, did I get a belt or not. So that was kind of my mentality, and as well as the way that I came up. And that's something, when you go to Thailand and where the sport was from, that's something they talk about more, and something that's more important. They kind of laugh about wins and losses and people getting knocked out because that's just part of the game, and you're gonna lose. And you get so many people get so fixated on winning at any cost that they're not actually fighting anybody of any relevance. Like I can go and beat up like 25 kids and say, hey, I just won 25 fights by knockout, but who were you even in there with? That there's a lot more to it than just these surface level victories.
Yeah, man. No, I love that, because I think, like, I would say one of the major differentiators that I found value in, like with me and a lot of dudes, is I've just always been willing to go, like, all right, like we're going to do this. Let's whip it on, and sometimes I tug the tail of a dragon. I go for a mother freaking ride, and I just still try to get my feet on the ground for one or two of these projects I've started. But the differentiator, I think, is kind of that thing. It's like, no, I'm going to get in the ring, I'm going to win or I'm going to lose. But one thing is for certain, I'm going to make this experience serve me. I'm going to be better for having gotten rocked, or I'm going to be better for having won. In fact, when I win, I'm a little more insecure and I'm more afraid, because then I got to make sure I don't believe my own crap. And then, And then I got to not let up. When you lose, you have this fire in your belly, and you're like, so
it's hard. It's difficult to maintain that through the wins. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to self-dissect about what you did wrong, what you could have done better when you win, because it's like, oh, I did everything right. look what happened. I think you might have touched on this at the event that we both spoke at, and it's about how just because you're winning in one area doesn't mean your whole rest of your life isn't shit. And it's very easy to say, hey, look at this. I'm winning in the business field or whatever else it may be. But if everything's not coming with it, then it's all for nothing.
Yeah, man. No, I've lived that. As I've been doing executive protection for billionaires since I was 21, and I'd be sitting there on their private jets, and I have my little purpose, and I have my little businesses that I want to do, or I'm putting myself through school, and I'm just sitting there on my little computer working away, and we're at altitude, and I've watched their lives just imploding all around them, while everyone on social media and on TV is like, wow, you're amazing. And they're just sitting there just like, and I've had a couple of them look at me and be like, you're just this little guy with your little computer, with your little salary, and you look like you're happy, and I'm pissed in life, and I'm just like, it's 100% true, man. These people you see on social media, their lives aren't, you're just seeing their social media, one. And two, trying to be that full spectrum human being, I find, is really where it's at. Like making a bunch of money is awesome, but when someone comes up to me after going through my course and they're like, I got into executive protection because of you, and I can feed my family because of the free content and the training you gave me, I'm like my heart's exploding. All I can do is say thank you. That means the world to me. But I wish they could feel like that moment. It's so big. And these are the things that make life, in my opinion, worth.
I completely agree, man. And unfortunately, it's more prevalent in the world today that we're so fixated on what things look like, not what they actually are. Yeah. And more people are so trying to put themselves out there as this external thing, and everyone's just empty and just broken, and it's heartbreaking, to see, and it's become this habitual kind of infectious way of the world.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's so seductive. And I feel for these new humans coming into this game, being told constantly on all their devices, this is what matters. This is what matters. And they might have to hit rock bottom and get hollowed out before realizing like, none of that matters. Be a good human being. And this is, if I was going to give you guys a lesson that I've been learning that I knew, but now I'm experiencing, and it's always changed my life. It would just simply be, I've never been that cool. I've never been, that sexy or that awesome, right? Like when I got on social media, I was like, not a Navy SEAL. I'm not Delta Force. I'm a basic infantry Marine. I was like, I got to actually give value. So I've always been trying to just contribute and give value. And so now I'm at this state where I'm having these live events and there's hundreds of people showing up and they're looking me in my eyes and telling me, man, this has changed my life. And that word, that sentence, it's more blessed to give than to receive.
Oh, without doubt.
My Lord, it's so powerful and so important. If a human being can just grab that and be like, look, I might not be the coolest, the biggest, the baddest, the best, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to contribute to people's lives one way or another to where my gift makes room for me. It will make room for you amongst kings. That one principle, I might be insignificant now, but I'm going to make myself good enough to contribute to people's lives. If you can do that, man, you can win at this game on so many levels. It's such a beautiful live, man.
Hopefully that's something that more people are encouraged to do and really understand what's important in this life when it really comes down to it. And that's just our impact on each other, making the world better for the people coming up behind you. This was something like when I was coming up in Muay Thai, it was nobody even knew what it was, everyone was switching over to MMA because, UFC and Pride and everything, that everyone's getting fights and making money and they're on TV. And everyone's like, why are you still doing this? Why don't you come over here and join the big show? And for myself, one, I just love the sport that much. But two, it was always like, if I leave, who's going to help out the next generation? Like I might not be able to see the external rewards of my work, but I'm not passing that responsibility off on the next generation. I want to leave this world and these things that I do better than they were when I found them.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And that's the way to be, man. Honor, respect, taking that responsibility, feeling the weight of that responsibility, being strong enough to bear up under and carry that mantle. That's like that's real man stuff. That's good human stuff, man. I respect the heck out of that. One thing that I've learned as I've been pushing through my life and every live event I plan is another pucker factor. It's like, well, let's see if this works, and you step off the line of departure, kicking off another detail. It's like you repeatedly go into battle. If you're on the path, if you're really on the path, and I don't care what your vocation is, but if you're really on the path of getting better and being able to make contributions and being a good human, you're going to constantly be dealing with going into battle in whatever spectrum or category you're in. And I find myself continuing going into these little fights, like, all right, we're going to create this event. We're going to do this at the school. I'm going to serve these clients. And it requires a level of emotional intelligence. It can get exhausting, actually. to the end of a few of the couple of years ago, I was like, man, I'm like kind of getting tired of being brave. Like, I just want to chill for a second. Okay, we just killed there's a freaking tiger and we got to do it. We got to do it, And so what would you say about your mindset going into a fight, as you went into all these fights in your lifetime?
Yeah. I think it's that knowledge of everything is always going, unfortunately, everything is always going to be a fight. There's never going to be a point. Like, you think that you want to relax, but you actually don't.
No, it's poison.
I mean, maybe for a moment, and you do want to find that balance in there, but nothing good ever comes from one. It's like once we stop moving, that's when we start dying. That's when we start aging. That's when everything goes bad. And I'll use an example, like 2009 was the first time I'd ever took a break from fighting. I'd maybe other than a day or two since the day I started. So I was like, I got all these injuries, all this pain. It's like, I'm going to take a month off. So when I come back, I'm going to be all healed up. Unfortunately, what I didn't take into account is like, you still got to keep your body moving. So I didn't do shit. Like, I sat on the couch, I watched TV. And then as soon as I try to go back, I'm like, oh my fuck. Like, I've never been in so much pain in my whole life. Like, I was like, never again. That's the worst thing you do. Like, we have to stay moving. We have to stay in all levels, mentally, physically, emotionally. Like, you can't stop. It's good to find that balance. You don't need to be redlining it all the time. But we think we want this thing, this relaxation, these vacations. It sounds nice, but most of the time it's going to be detrimental to what you're trying to do. And then you got to get back going again. I use this example as like, we're always on this train. As soon as we step off the train keeps going. Now you hop back on, now you're this much farther behind. So that's something to think about anytime you want to take a break from something or stop doing something and just relax for a minute.
Yeah, man. Nothing will bring you closer to destruction than comfort. That's what I always tell myself. Nothing will bring you closer to destruction than comfort. I always say it like 3 times too, because dude, it's just the scariest and most dangerous and seductive thing in this.
I know. And it's just something that's pushed in our faces constantly about being comfortable and having, good food and good drink and beach and those things are great, but
they're going to turn me into a freaking loser.
And I think what's easy to forget is we constantly lower our bar of what's acceptable in our lives. When we stop pushing ourselves to that extreme, it just becomes easier each and every time. We hold ourselves back a little bit, we get that much weaker, and we don't even realize it because it's slow.
Yeah. No, 100%. I always say like, the difference in people is their standards, like every time someone looks at me or asks me like what time I wake up or go to sleep, or just says to me like, dude, you're crazy. That is crazy. Yes. I'm like, I'm just like outstanding, crazier than you, crazier than everybody, going to make a crazy impact in this game, because
we have to set our bar at impossible. For myself with fighting, it was always that unattainable goal. Like, I'm never going to get there, and I'm so far behind, and I waited so long to start that everything I'm doing is trying to get closer to that goal. So no matter how many fights I had won, no matter titles I'd done, no matter how long I did this, like, I'm not any closer to that impossible goal that I'm trying to attain, because anything, like, there is no finality to anything that we're doing. There is no mountaintop, because as soon as you get to the mountaintop, there's more to go.
No. And I think that mentality, I think, is a little difficult for people to grasp. I said this to somebody else the other day. They're like, how you doing? How you been? And I was just kind of like, I said something about, well, for me, this life is a dead sprint. And the beauty of it, I said something like, and the beauty of it is no matter how far or fast I go, I still get to go farther and faster. When you get to that mountaintop, you open your eyes and there's another mountain right over there. And I think that is kind of, to tie in one of your other points, that is like the beauty of life, I can go as far as I can get myself to go. But at the same time, life is progress driven. And it's so kind of like fair in a way, that those who are not making progress are like kind of being eliminated. They're like they're going down. And then if you're moving into being progressive, you start to realize that progress equals happiness. And then when you open your eyes and see like, man, I've done this stuff behind me, but there's so much more to do. And you've been on the path long enough to know what you're capable of, to know that, hey, you know what? I did kill a giant and I did kill a dragon the other day. And, the Kraken is like over there, but like, I could probably do that now because I've been doing this. It's actually exciting to know that the goalpost is wherever, like as far as you can get. And so a reasonable man accepts circumstances, while an unreasonable man fights against them. And so all progress depends on us unreasonable men. That's Ralph Waldo Emerson. And so it's actually awesome when you start to realize, like, as I achieve, I'm more capable of achieving, and life will never let me run out.
Right.
It's like magic.
It's a great and important perspective to have. I think that's why a lot of people struggle when they retire or go into a different field. They think it's over, or they feel that they're starting over. And like, look what you accomplished. All those things you learned through that process, you can apply to every aspect of life. This is like you're so much farther ahead than so many people because of that. But we're always so busy looking backwards.
Yeah,
we're like, oh, well, I used to be this. I used to be this guy. I'm like, that's not who you were. That's something you did.
Yeah, that's what I think breaks my heart about veterans, man. I'm like, we should be the most gangster, highly accomplished demographic in this world for how the things that we've gone through, the training, the engine that they built in us before we went over there, and then the monsters we've killed over there. Like, we should get out in the 1st Civilian Division and be laying waste to bulls and just wrecking shop. And that's the mentality I try to bring over. Like, like every day I go to war, I wake up, and I go as hard as I can. I went hard for Uncle Sam. Now let's go hard for all the people whose lives I can touch, and for the legacy, and bring honor to my tribe and my God, and serve. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much more once you get your freedom to go hard in the paint over. And I think we forget about it. We start to look back, just like you said, the good old days.
Yeah, we're always in the good old days.
Yeah, I'm gonna make and I try to tell dudes, be dedicated to make these the stinking goodest days, man. Those days were awesome. I love them and respect them, but I'm trying to make these the goodest days right now.
Oh yeah.
You mentioned in the notes discipline as the ultimate equalizer.
Yeah.
What would you say about that, man?
Without question, that's something, I think that's why martial arts is such a good, especially getting in the ring, is such a significant thing just in all levels of life. It teaches you so much about life. There's always going to be people who are more naturally gifted, or grew up the right way, or had the right amount of money, and a lot of these important factors, but there's that internal driving factor that if you don't have that, inevitably those gifts are going to level off, and it's who's willing to work harder that's going to get there. So you can give one person all the gifts, all the accolades in the world, all the money, all the talent, all the everything. I'll take a hard worker any day of the week. They might not win in the beginning. They might have to go through a lot, but inevitably that hard work is going to get them past that evening out point. And and you see that time and time again. Unfortunately, in fighting, what happens is a lot of those people who are more naturally gifted, they just go out the gate just like smashing fools, and everybody else is just getting wrecked. And a lot of people use that as a reason to give up. They're like, oh, I got beat up, I can't win. And the people who are constantly winning aren't continuing to progress in those other areas where they may be lacking. Because they do have natural strength and ability. But inevitably you're going to hit that wall. You're going to have a hard fight. You're going to have a bad day. And if you don't have that internal driving force to push you through it, it's going to break you. So what happened a lot of times is all those people who were on these long undefeated streaks, as soon as they lost, they were done. They were retired. I lost my very first fight. So I was forced to answer those questions that we inevitably have to. Like, what are you going to do when it doesn't go the way that you wanted it to? What are you going to do when things are really difficult? It's like, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was out on a run. A lot of times we use our age as a reason why we're not taking care of ourselves anymore. I'm like, so you took care of yourself when you didn't have to? Like, you didn't have to do any work? Of course it was easy. Like, so what you're saying is, now that it's difficult, you don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
And you're using your age as an excuse. I'm like, it's not an excuse. I mean, it's a reason you're giving yourself, but you're either going to do it or you're not. You're either going to do it even when everything's pushing against you. That's the only way to know if you really want to do something anyway, is when it's not working out for you.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. The quality of your life is dictated by the quality of the conversations you have with yourself. I think, I mean, I don't know how you are, but I think people, if they heard the way I talk to myself, they would be like, I would be banned from social media. No,
I was telling that story at the event about yelling at myself on the treadmill. Such a bitch.
Yeah.
Like when I know I'm not getting up early enough in the morning or doing the work, I'm like, you're just such a lazy piece of shit.
You're so disgusting, right?
You're a disgusting man.
Yeah. No, it's true, man. You got to do what you got to do. If you can't be real with yourself, you can't be real with anybody else, man. And I've found so much value in looking my students and patrons in the eyes and being able to be like in my mind, my little mental process is like, what you would tell yourself. Now, the only question left is, do you have a close enough relationship with this dude to tell him the truth too and have it come off right? Well, then I'm like, if you can do it in the spirit of love, then it should be received well, and then I worry about the delivery. But 100%, man, I love what you said about discipline being the ultimate equalizer. Because I think, especially in this age with social media, people are looking at each other online and like, oh, I'm not that cool. I'm not this, that, and the next thing. You guys got to realize the work you need to do to get to the level of someone who's naturally gifted is going to build an engine in you, is going to build emotional intelligence, is going to make you so dangerous and so much more unstoppable that by the time you finally get to where they started off at, you're going to have so many more unseen skills and abilities that are going to hold you over when when the real killing starts. And I think that's that dynamic, man. That's a lot. That's what I see in that a lot too, man. It's like, okay, cool, man. Good. But that dude right now that's underneath the streetlights working while everyone's sleeping.
Well, I mean, all you got to do is go look at anyone who's accomplished anything in the history of the world. That's the one unifying factor for any successful person ever, is that internally driven. They're willing to work. They're willing to go through hell and keep going. They don't stop when things aren't going the way they want them to. They're not pointing at all the reasons why they can't make it. They're like, I'm going to make it, and I'm going to figure out how to make up for these areas where I do lack. There's this spectrum that we all have of success, and we're so fixated on this one little aspect over here. It's like, athleticism or money or whatever it is, where it's this whole process that needs to go together. And that hard work and being driven is such a powerful piece of that unifies the whole field of anything that you want to do.
Do you think people, because one of the things I've always struggled with that's been kind of hard is like people I love sometimes. I got into psychology. I went and got a master's in psychology because there are people that didn't freaking have drive. Like they just didn't have hunger, and then like later on in life, they kind of all of a sudden like clicked on and like started, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a slave my whole life. I'll start doing stuff, but that unstoppable, that hunger, any idea where that might come from? Or do you think you can, where did that come from for you?
Unfortunately, most of the times that comes from some level of being broken previously.
Trauma. Yep.
Trauma, defeat,
darkness,
whatever the case may be. But like everybody has some level of that. Even if you've had the best life ever, you've got some trauma in your life, and they're all these things give us fuel. It's whether we use that fuel to lift us up or to burn us to the ground.
Yeah.
And it's such a difficult thing to try to motivate other people who aren't self-motivated, but you got to realize only you can do that. Like you can help people and you can guide people, and it's certainly helpful when you have somebody around you in your life or someone you could look to as motivation. But if you don't have that internal drive, you're never gonna do it.
You only take the horse to water, man. Mm-hmm. Was there like a moment when you felt yourself click into like, all right, I'm going hard in the paint, like switch over from the victim mentality stuff into I'm going to be a freaking warrior? Was there like a moment or like a,
Yeah, for certain. The day that I started training, prior to that was all that victim mindedness, that I'm not going to be able to make it. I'm too old to start. I'm too weak. I'm too much of an alcoholic. I'm too many of these things. It was just that switch. It was that decision. None of that matters. Like you're going to go in this direction and you're going to keep going. And it was a progressive thing too, because, I talked about this in the speech. It's like when I started, like everything was working out great. I was like killing it. Like, I'm like, oh man, this is what happens when you make the decision to turn your life around and stop being a little bitch about everything. But then that first fight, I got fucking annihilated and destroyed. Yeah. And then it was just another realization that you have a choice to make. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to let this break you? Or are you going to use this as motivation and use this as fuel? And so through all those processes and those challenges, each time was like, you're a little bit stronger. And each time was more of a signification of you always have a choice. Every time something bad happens to you, you always have a choice. And it was just each and every time it happened was just further learning, that never ends. It's never going to end. It doesn't matter what the difficulty that we're facing is. Like, what are you going to do about it?
Yep.
That's it. And that's it.
That's it. 100%.
It's very simple. I mean, we like to think that it's complex and what you're going to do and how you're going to go about it. Yeah, those things are have details and complexity to them, but at its core, it's that choice. It doesn't matter how far you're going to go to the right. It's like, I'm going to the right. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I just know I'm not going that way.
Nope. No, that's huge, man. What meaning are you going to give it? What is that experience going to mean to you? And then what are you going to do about it? I've almost gotten to where I'm a little bit like, I just like, that's the game. Like I almost feel nothing when it comes to a lot of things. Sometimes I'm just like, it's all just data and I just have to make the best decisions. I just have to, all right, I'm losing here. Solid. What am I going to do about it? How am I going to adjust? Control what you can control, prioritize, execute, continue. And just moving that way has done so much. You mentioned, go ahead. You have something else on that?
Yeah, I was going to say that we forget that we give things meaning.
Yeah, man.
External things don't necessarily give things meaning. And unfortunately, we can only kind of look back and look at that we had that choice to make. Like I had this loss and I used it to get better, but I could have used it to break very easily. And the more you do that, the more you understand that, the stronger you get. That's why I say, like, each and every day we have these opportunities to make that choice and to get a little bit better, doing a little bit more than we wanted to do, not giving it to weakness or victimhood.
Yeah.
Every day we have opportunities to do that. It's just like the training mentality is, so many people think it's only in the gym, and they do the work and then they go home and then treat their minds and their bodies like shit and wonder why they're not progressing the way that they should. But this is a 24 hours a day process.
Yeah. Of becoming, like I saying, just to, I'm trying to become, like 100% something better and different. And then there's no time off from that. I budget in fun. I budget in cheats. I take care of myself so I can still just maintain like an 85% productivity. I mean, and then
one thing I did over probably like the last 10 years of my career is I started viewing those times, like my cheat meals and stuff, I'm like, if you view this as part of training and you do it the way that you should do it, it's all part of getting stronger and better. Even those maybe days you're resting or dialing it down a little bit. If you start looking at those things as a positive thing, they are all part of the process, and I'm using these to get better. It's not like, oh, fuck, it took a day off. I got to fucking, like sometimes it's important to schedule in those times of relaxation, but not getting stuck there.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's really important, especially for hammers like us, to be like, no, I'm going to deliberately rest, because this also contributes to my goal of getting better, being better, optimizing myself. I'm going to deliberately give myself a little mental little break. I'm going to let some pressure out. I'm going to go have a hamburger. You know what I'm saying? I worked for this hamburger, and I'm going to enjoy this so that I can just be healthy like be happy enough to continue in the misery.
And it also helps you enjoy that as well, because prior to that, it's like you're eating, like, I shouldn't be eating this. This is fucking terrible. But it's like once you make that switch, it made me that much healthier, because it almost turned that stuff into fuel as opposed to like this weight that I carried around.
Yeah. Everything is proper in its time, man. I dig it. You mentioned the alcoholic thing. I know a lot of vets and dudes out there be struggling with that. What would you say about that, climbing out of that, if you don't mind talking about it?
Yeah.
I mean, this is live, so I can clip it,
but same kind of thing with all the other stuff. I just viewed it as I simplified it. Mm-hmm. Like, I know where that goes, mm-hmm. and I just can't go that way. Mm-hmm. So it never even became a struggle, because my drive to make up for lost time, drive to use every day, knowing that it could be my last. It's like, I can't do anything that's going to bring me in that direction. I tried to view things as it's either helping or it's hurting. Is this thing going to help me? Because if it's not going to help me, like, there's no in between in my mind.
Right.
If it's not contributing to this goal that I have, then it's hurting me, and I got to cut that out of there. I can't have that around me.
Yeah.
So that's a really hard thing to do, particularly when, it's like when injuries would happen, when I couldn't get any fights, or I was just having a bad day. That's the time you're like, fuck it. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's why, as we said before about, you gotta know that devil's on your back all the time. You're never any farther away.
He's waiting.
Yeah. So especially when things are good, you got to know that it's right there, because as soon as something turns, you forget how heavy that weight is. Mm-hmm. So if you're not constantly strengthening yourself to fight that weight, that weight is inevitably going to jump on your back, and you're not going to be ready for it. So if you just kind of keep that in mind, it's that one day at a time, one moment at a time, 1 week at a time, just a little bit better, keep going, keep moving, keep pushing. Can I get through this moment? That mentality and that psychology, you apply that to anything you want to get better at.
Yeah, man. I think what I hear too, a pretty common theme, is just stacking wins, man. Like, not being seduced by the thought of like, when I get the belt, it'll be awesome. But like, if I can just make the right choice today, right now, it's a win. If I can just make it to lunch, if I can just input this much discipline in my day to day, it's a win. And like, give yourself wins in other areas. Like, okay, I'm not going to drink because I'm going to have these wins today that are going to get closer to my goal. Like, this is awesome. Like, I'm winning right now, and progress equals happiness, And so you're actually really, you're getting what you want. Now, if you were to say, I'm not going to drink, and then you stay stagnant, you ain't going to make it. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be, I'm taking this, I'm giving myself this. That's going to give me all this, this elevation in life. And
having those goals, especially the small ones, the little victories, that's what'll really help you get moving. Like, did I get up today?
Yeah.
Did I get my body moving? Okay, that's good. And what's next? And also that that knowledge that there is no final goal. Like you're never, once you're an addict, you're always an addict. Like, don't think like just because it's been 10 years that you're not that same person. Like
Right.
you're just building on top of that person that used to be. That person doesn't go away.
Yeah.
I still have that person. I'm just on top of it is all.
At the moment.
At the moment.
Yeah.
And I could turn around right now and he's right there.
Yeah. 100%. That's how I think too, man. I haven't had addiction, but I've definitely had patterns in life that I've tried to stay away from,
and it's all addiction in the end anyway. We're all,
it is really, it really is.
So try to get addicted to something positive.
Yeah, man. And someone was trying to get me to say, like, they were like, just, say that you'll never do that. I can't share what it is. It has to do with someone else. And they're like, tell me you'll never do that again. Like, you'll never. And I was looking at him like, do you not understand? The only way that I don't mess this whole entire thing up is that I know what I'm capable of. And I know that I'm capable of doing all that right now. I was like, and for me to sit here and tell you that I know I'll never do that again, I was like, no, it's stupid. I love you and everyone involved way too much to sit here and even believe that for a second, because it'll be the beginning of the end.
Yeah. I think that ends up breaking a lot of people. Is like when they do have that setback, they feel like such a failure when it happens, as if you're never going to lose or have a bad day. I think as long as you just understand the process of building back up, that it's going to minimize that time that you are broken down. It's like, I can't say that's never going to happen again. Mm-hmm. How could I ever say that?
I don't know.
But if it does happen, these are the steps and this is what I need to do. So that way I don't get stuck in that, because when it does happen, a lot of people are like, fuck, like I'm the biggest piece of shit in the world. And which inevitably only leads to more destruction.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, get up on your horse. This is what I'll tell you. I will do my best to never be in that position. Yo, what would you say is your, what's the hardest lesson you've learned on this journey, man?
I think just knowing that the fight and that, I don't know if it's the hardest, it's also the best. It's that the battle never ends. No matter how strong you get, there's always weakness around the corner, and there's always those areas that you didn't strengthen that you forget are weaknesses. So not to get so fixated on how strong you are in one area or your accomplishments. It's this constant juggling act of balance and strengthening or weakening different sides, and not getting fixated on that external thing. Not thinking you're something that you're not. Like you're always this broken person that is just trying to be a little bit stronger and better than you were before.
Yeah. No, I agree. I love that, man. And it's ruthless. It's just the truth, like there is always more than you can do. And you just, I'm actually afraid of arrogance. Like I allow myself to be afraid of it. I allow myself to, you can become the coolest, sexiest, most hottest. You see a beautiful girl, whatever it is. And the second you smell arrogance, everything you're doing is crap. To stay humble and stay on that path is like the way, man. That's huge.
Yeah, I think it's hard to find that balance too, though, because for myself, I'm the same way. Like I'm trying to avoid that so much that I just stay away from anything like that. But there's some elements of that are positive, like the confidence and there's confidence and there's arrogance, and they can look the same on the surface sometimes, and it's hard to differentiate between the two. So it can be a tricky balancing act in that.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's worth, it needs attention. Like you have to pay attention to it, because confidence comes from experience. You know what you can do. You know it for a fact. Now, arrogance is inaccurate confidence, right? When you've been out of the gym and you've been like, well, I did this once upon a time, I bet you I still get down, and then so many people fall into that. And the worst part to me about all of it is so many people lack confidence because they're not pushing themselves, struggling, knowing what they're capable of. I went to the gym this morning. I know pretty much about what I'm capable of already for today, but only for today. Don't get weird. You know what I mean? Like that's how I keep myself in line. But there's so few people that have that confidence that when they see confidence, they're going to try to tell you it's arrogance because they can't comprehend the fact that you actually really know what you're capable of and feel fine with yourself. So I'm constantly like triple checking myself, and it can be kind of painful, when someone's like, oh, you're arrogant. And you're like, no, I really try not to be. I don't think I am. Now I'm going to think about it, but
yeah. So that's why I think that's why it's always important to really be brutally honest and hold yourself accountable to all these things, because it is easy to start sliding down that path. Very easy. It's like thinking that you're always doing something positive is like the quickest way to tyranny, because you're justifying everything that you're doing.
Yep.
you gotta have that balance, that sounding board, whether it's another person or whether you're just doing it yourself. It's easier if you have somebody else on the outside. It's like, hey, you're being a little you're kind of being an asshole.
Yep. No, that's good, dude. And then what would you say is your last few questions here? What would you say is your proudest moment, in the game or in life, or that you carry?
I'd say my proudest moment is not succumbing to that victim mentality, knowing how easily I could, just like everybody can. That it's like, the fights and all that stuff is great, but really at its core was not giving into that weakness and making a choice to turn my life around, and making that choice every single day, and still and continue to make that choice. It's like, as we said, that battle never ends. As soon as I was done fighting, it was pretty rough there for about a month. I'm like, all right, well, now what? But then it's like, all right, well, you got to keep moving. So let's at least like go for a walk. All right. Yeah. And then I went for a walk. I'm like, all right, so let's start lifting again. All right, let's hit the bag again. All right. Got back to training a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, this is just for life.
Yeah. That's worth it.
Yeah. So it's like it's that unending battle, and then understanding that you're always in it, and the fight never ends. And as long as you're continually pushing in the right direction, that can be that motivator, and that thing that you do feel accomplished by. It's like a daily thing. Like, I feel accomplished because I didn't give into that today. I didn't stay in bed this morning and sleep all day.
We were up messaging each other at 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah, and that's something I think about. Like, well, why are you getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and working out? Like, you could sleep in, and I could work out after this podcast. I'm like, yeah, but then I'm giving up the rest of my day, which I could have been doing other things.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. No, this is the stuff, man. 100%. As you, and I have to ask this one while I have you here too. Like, so you're getting ready to go into the ring. There's got to be emotions. There's got to be maybe there are emotions, because you might be in another level. I don't know. I'm asking. Emotions, intimidation, exposure. People are going to be looking at you. You got to fight another dude. This is like that ride into battle. Like, I remember someone asked you from the stage, like, you just knew you were going to win, right? And I was like, I don't know if I work that way, And then you were like, wasn't quite like that for me, And I was like,
not at all.
Like, how do you stay grounded? What is that like for you? What kind of tools did you use? What did it feel like? Or were you just like Mike Tyson, like I was scared and I just was crying in the dressing room? Or were you like, I'm just going to go in here, I'm going to do my best, I'm going to die in here if I need to, whatever it is? Like, how was that for you?
Yeah, I was probably more inclined to that kind of mentality. Like, I'm never going to give up. You're going to have to kill me to make me stop. Yeah. As far as like all the emotions stuff, I kind of got all that stuff built. Like, when I was just about to walk out, I would get super emotional, but like so much of it was just like gratitude to be able to do this thing that I'm not supposed to be here anyway. Like, I should be dead right now. And I get to go in this ring and do what I love in front of all these fucking people. Like, this is the greatest moment in my life right now. Yeah. So it was like, I'd get super emotional. And then as soon as I took that first step to walk out, it was just that switch changed in my head. And it's just like, you're so engaged in the moment. Like, there's nothing that gets you close to the present as any battle does, as you obviously know. But that's like the purest form of living to me, is like, you're so engaged in the moment. You can't, the crowd and people and even the person in front of you, you're just working and flowing and with what's going on. You're not thinking about it. You're not doing. It's like any fight that I can remember is not a good one because I was thinking
That's
that fight sucked.
Yeah.
Like all my greatest fights, I have zero like recollection of. I watch them and it's like watching another person because I was another person. I was just dialed into that moment.
Man.
So yeah, but yeah, I had leading up to it. There was always those emotions of like, you always have that performance anxiety. Like I'm gonna go out there, I'm just gonna forget how to fight. I'm not gonna know what I'm doing.
Yeah, like how do I even? I'm just gonna. Dude, that voice is a mother, bro. I know exactly
It's
that.
worse. It's the worst. It was so much worse too when it was so much worse too when I was going up against people that weren't necessarily at that like extremely high level. Because when I was going up against those guys, it was just life and death. Like, I'm just gonna do everything in my power to get to that point. But when it wasn't that, it was like, I'm just gonna go out there and fucking like, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Oh man, the mind game, man, it's so good. This is the best stuff at the end. I love it, man. That was so good. At the end of the day, man, when it's all said and done, what is it all for? How do you want to be remembered, brother?
I don't remember.
It's an easy question.
It's an easy question. I want to be remembered as someone that never gave up and was always trying to leave everything better than the way you found it. Didn't give into the excuses that he had or that any of us have. We all have a reason to not accomplish things, to not be better, to give into life and to break ourselves. But where's that going to lead to? Like, I think we are all here for each other. And the sooner we start realizing that, maybe we can make this world a better place.
Oh, that was perfect. That's awesome. Oh yeah. One last thing. You're speaking, man. You're doing public speaking. What would you, anything you want to say about that? What was that experience like? Your first time getting up there?
It's crazy, man. It's funny because most people don't know that I am the shyest, quietest person like you'll ever meet. Like I'll sit here with somebody for all day long and not say a word. I mean, because I'm more of a like an unspoken communicator kind of person. Like I don't feel the need to speak all the time.
You're an introvert.
Or ever. Like I'm like, we can be the closest friends and we don't ever talk ever.
And that's why you're close friends.
That's why I'm close friends. So yeah, it's extremely ironic that I'm up there doing this because it's so opposite of who I actually am internally. Like that's not how I feel. Like I don't want to be up there talking. I want to be like hitting people or physically engaging because that's how I can communicate. That makes sense to me. When using words and dialogue and speaking, like that's such a foreign thing to me. But it was like I had to apply all those things that I learned through fighting. It's like, this is nerve-wracking, especially being up there with like all you guys who are like seasoned pros. And this is like my first day. I was like, I equated it to my very first time fighting ever, being on a card with like the best fighters in the world. Like this day one. That's what that felt like to me. But it was such a, it was like I had to embrace all those things I was trying to communicate to other people. Like, this is scary. And you got to go through the things and you got to go through the process. And, everything that I communicated in my speech, I had to tell myself too, because it's all the same stuff,
All the same voices, man. And it's all the same tools that you use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those things that apply to one area of your life, you can apply to everything. If you know how to get good at one thing, you know how to get good at everything.
100%. No, I love that, man. Thanks for the kind words about the speaking thing. Dude, I felt the same way when I was going to go up and speak for the first couple times. I think this last run, I kind of really slipped into my another level of competence with it and confidence. But man, that was good. You did awesome.
Thanks.
I look forward to hopefully doing more cool stuff with you. I remember when I saw you, I was like, no homo, but I got this whole kind of right. I was like, I like that guy's face. And I was like, I like that guy's face. I got clients like popping shots. I'm about to get to it in a second. I was like, I like that guy's face. And I got this whole art form of like, you can tell if you'll get along with someone from their face. I don't know if it's actually just bro science, but in my life, it's been pretty, if I see someone I like their face, they're pretty good. If I don't like their face, I tend to give them a chance, and I'm like, I knew I didn't like this guy's face.
Yeah, I think that, like, we think it's a physical thing, but I think it's a lot more of a energy thing, and
100%
their aura. It's like that's what's really great about fighting is as soon as you stand across from somebody, I know so much about you. I know like so much about you. That's like looking at you, and just by like grabbing your hand, like a handshake.
Yep.
You know so much about somebody. I'm like, oh, this guy's a bitch.
Yeah.
A weak person. Sorry, not a bitch. Or a strong person, or a confident person, or you learn so much, and that's again why I get so much more out of like physicality than words, because I think words can be fake and a shadow and empty. Whereas there's a lot of physicality that you can't fake that stuff. That's what's great about fighting is you can't pretend who you are in the ring. You can pretend who you are on the outside. You can talk all this shit you want, but as soon as you get in there and you're in the fire, truth comes out real quick.
Yeah, 100%. There's no faking those signals. Man. So heck yeah, dude. It's an honor to see you on the speaking circuit. I'm sure more people will hit you up and let you tell your story, which is an amazing one of quite a lot of accomplishment, man. So yeah, man, it's an honor. I'm glad we got to do this together. I look forward to hopefully doing more cool stuff together, and great stuff, man, in here. Absolutely.
I appreciate it, man. It was an honor to be on here with you.
Yeah, 100%. This thing's power packed. Heck yeah. Yo, what are you up to these days? Where can people find you?
You can try to find me on social media, but I've been shadow banned for like a year and a half. My Instagram and my Twitter are The Soul Assassin, DA Soul Assassin. You can go to my website, which is thesoulasssassin.com. Pretty easy to find out what I'm doing.
Heck yeah. That's what's up. All right, brother. Well, thanks so much once again. Kevin Ross, the Soul Assassin. Yo, we'll be connected on some other stuff soon, I'm sure. Thanks, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
This is my MCK. There are many like it, but this one is mine. If you've got a firearm sitting around, a pistol that you are not doing anything with, get an MCK. They make them for every single model. If you want a micro conversion kit that will turn your handgun into a force multiplier, get one, man. They are ultra affordable. CAA MCK micro conversion kits are changing the game, y'all. So if you don't have one, you need to get one. Get one. Your women, children, people that are less physically potent will be able to fire your firearm to farther distances with more accuracy. You will be able to fire your firearm to farther distances with more accuracy. I want to get one of these into the hands of 100,000 more protectors this year, because ultimately we are only as good as the nation is only as good as its protection. Your home is only as safe and as good as your ability to protect it. MCK, go get one. Drop your handgun in, take it to the next level. Out. Boom. Boom. Yo, what up? I hope you guys really enjoyed that episode. Hey, listen, in order to get more out of the brand, I want to encourage you to go join us on our social media platforms and join us at protectornation.com. We post different types of content on our different platforms at different times. You'll get blog posts, you'll get videos, you'll get real world combat engagements and things like that. So stay plugged in order to get the most out of the brand. In order to support us, also go to protectornation.com and buy something, or join forces with me on Patreon. You'll scroll down the homepage and you'll see the link. Anything you can give counts. Think about whatever you would lose in your cushions or like spend on McDonald's this month, $5 a month, whatever it is. That helps us make the world a better place by making good people dangerous. Anyways, this is Byron Rodgers, protector by nature and by trade, and I'll see you on the next piece of content, whether it's a video or podcast. Out.